Thank you. Thank you. And welcome everyone. That was Tammy Briggs, our amazing harpist. Tammy, thank you. That was just beautiful. We are honored and delighted to be here today. Special welcome to our Japanese guests and program participants. So right at the top, we're going to ask Kumiko to say a few words about how our Japanese guests can access the translation. Kumiko, thank you. Thank you for being our interpreter.
日本語の音声が聞こえます。これから通訳の部屋に入りますので、よろしくお願いします。ベッキーさん、お願いします。ベッキー、please.
I closed the interpretation channel. We now can hear you, Kumiko-san.
聞こえます？聞こえますか、ベッキーさん。私の日本語聞こえます？聞こえますか？なんか聞こえてます？大丈夫ですか？ OK。ありがとう。では始めます。
I'm going to go ahead and open the interpretation channel. When the channel is open, Kumiko-san cannot be heard in the main room. So that's what happened. So I closed it. So we'll open it now. And Fumi, do you want to explain in Japanese what people can do?
Yes. 久美子さんは日本語チャンネルに今入りましたので、皆さん下のボタンを押して、日本語ジャパニーズっていうところをクリックして、日本語チャンネルに入ってください。地球儀のマークです。お願いします。はい。久美子さんよろしくお願いします。I think we're set.
Thank you. And again, Kumiko, thank you so much for providing this beautiful service for us. Welcome to Intergenerational Voices for Peace. My name is Hezekiah Gabriel. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways to Peace. We are here today to commemorate the 77th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, an act of terror perpetrated on the people and cities of Japan. As our collective voice calls out, never again, we also ask ourselves, what have we learned and what can we do? We know that we can pray, and we know that our individual and collective prayers make a difference. We can change our world. And as we learn from our friends in Japan, we can take this horrific tragedy and we can use it to inspire, activate, and amplify peace. And that's what we're here today to explore. In addition to our keynote speakers, there are so many here that we wish to thank for making our time together possible. First of all, I have to introduce and thank Tammy Briggs once again for her beautiful start of our program. Our interpreter, Kumiko, once again. Becky Suzik for our tech support. Renor Johnny, who is our Pathways to Peace program coordinator for nuclear disarmament, advocacy, and research. You'll be hearing from Renor soon. My co-host, George Anthony, who I believe is here or will be arriving soon. And certainly a special welcome. There's George. Thank you, George, for being my partner, my peace brother, and my co-host. Yes. And And I'd also like
上の
to
左
give a
にちっちゃかった
special welcome to our Japanese guests, some of whom will be offering a closing mudra.
あ、今やっと
Thank you.
分かんなくて、今やっとここに入れた。
Thank
あ
you.
ー
So to start us off, I would like Lenore Johnny to kind of set the stage for our time today. Lenore?
Yes, thank you so much, Hezekiah. Hello, everyone. Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers, and guests. It is wonderful to welcome all of you from across the world for our program today, Intergenerational Voices for Peace, for the 77th commemoration of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, and for Nuclear Prayer Day. My name is Renor Yani, and I am the Program Coordinator for Nuclear Disarmament Advocacy and Research at Pathways to Peace globally and in Albania. 3 years ago, when I first learned about the treaty and the prohibition of nuclear weapons, TPNW, and the many testimonies of the Hibakusha survivors of nuclear usage and nuclear testing, I was profoundly moved, and I had a deep knowing that I had to contribute to the work of nuclear disarmament. As an Albanian myself, it is an honor to be the founder of the current Nuclear Disarmament Advocacy and Research Program at Pathways to Peace. I initially introduced the concept of this program and received approval from my mentor and former Pathways to Peace President, Avon Madison. Prior to launching, Pathways to Peace was not directly involved in nuclear disarmament work. However, we realized the true need for it, and Avon placed her trust and faith in me to oversee the program. For the first few years, we worked closely together, and most recently, within the past few months, Hezekiah has become more directly involved with the program, and I'm very grateful for their efforts, along with everyone who has helped us at PTP. Within the program, I have led the efforts in organizing program conferences with Albanian parliamentarians and officials, conducted research on the Albanian public opinion of the TPNW, and have held consultations to provide policy recommendations on nuclear disarmament with officials within the Albanian Parliament and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I have also worked to have Pathways to Peace become an official partner organization within the coalition of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, which won the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize. Within our most recent research report, 98% of Albanian citizens have shared that they want Albania to join the TPNW, and 90% stated that they believe Albania should be one of the first NATO states to join the TPNW as well. Considering their seat on the United Nations Security Council, Albanians feel their government should affirm its commitment to nuclear disarmament by joining the rest of the international community through ratifying the TPNW. I'm currently working on initiatives to further secure commitment and support from all levels of the Albanian government for the signature and ratification of the treaty and the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Please visit pathways2peace.org/programs/Albania to view more of our work and to read more. I'd like to highlight that several efforts have also been made to include Hibakusha survivors of nuclear usage and testing to give their direct testimonies within our other conferences and programs. We have had the honor to welcome Yoshiko Kajimoto and Toshiko Tanaka, who survived the atomic bombings in Hiroshima, Japan, and also Edith Hood and Larry King, who survived the impacts of nuclear testing in New Mexico, United States. This is vital to us because we recognize that the Hibakusha best understand the need for a world free of nuclear weapons. This entire past week, I have had the honor of hearing from multiple Hibakusha survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki in person at the United Nations headquarters in New York for the NPT Review Conference. They have called on all world leaders to abolish nuclear weapons and to finally close the nuclear era. Following the first meeting of state parties on the TPNW in Vienna, we are currently in the midst of the NPT review conference here in New York. The TPNW complements the NPT, and it fulfills Article 6, which calls for a legally binding treaty for the abolition of nuclear weapons and its uses. I'd like to thank our team at Pathways to Peace for our work in organizing this conference and for the support of United Religions Initiative, May Peace Prevail on Earth International, and everyone else who has helped us today. I hope that today's program has reminded us all of the important call for nuclear abolition from all communities affected by nuclear usage and testing across the world. Thank you.
And thank you, dear Renor. Thank you. That was perfect. And as most of you might know, everything we do at Pathways to Peace is intergenerational in that we really honor our youth. And Renor, thank you. Renor, in addition to being our program coordinator, is also a UN representative to the United Nations for Pathways to Peace. So your work is very appreciated, Renor. And so as Renor mentioned, we have many distinguished guests. We have another youth activist as a distinguished guest, as well as we have some incredible keynote speakers. And you'll be hearing more from them in just a moment. But before that, I'd like to introduce my peace brother and colleague, George Anthony. And George is a primary representative of Pathways to Peace to the United Nations. And he has so many other titles, but I'll leave that to him to share if he chooses. George?
Thank you, Tezekiah. And I want to say thank you for our esteemed guests, especially His Excellency Archbishop Kasha, in joining us. And as a devout Catholic, it's important for me that I really focus on this work in nuclear disarmament, and the Holy See has been always the engine, a powerful engine in moving that message forward. So I'm elated to be a part of this conversation. Today, we offer our prayers to remember the scars that remain and remind us from the destruction that rained down on the city of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as well as the consequences of nuclear testing that still haunt the people today of Kazakhstan, the Marshall Islands, and throughout the world. Today is the 77th anniversary that began this destruction. We begin the healing and the transformation of humankind's relationship to others, as well as to the earth. Antonio Gutierrez, the Secretary General of the United Nations, recently warned that humanity is one miscalculation away from annihilation. He also said Nagasaki and Hiroshima remind us to put peace first every day, to work in conflict prevention and resolution, reconciliation and dialogue, and to tackle the roots of conflict and violence. Today, many students involved in programs affiliated with Pathways to Peace, who are passionate in building peaceful tomorrows, where they are provided with a platform, stand up for those who stand alone, and to speak truth for those voices that fall silent. And now we're provided with an opportunity to create substantial growth with the development of a United States Department of Peace Building that will establish an Office of Arms Control and Disarmament. This department is vital for a stable future based on peace and development. Young voices need to get involved and push the passage of Bill 1111, which will secure the creation of the Department of Peace Building. As American citizens who are listening to this broadcast, we need to call Congress now, this August. Cannot wait, we must advocate. Peace is possible, but we must work for it. God bless. And thank you, Tess.
Thank you, George. And I'd just like to say that our harpist, Tammy Briggs, is actually working with the Peace Alliance around manifestation of that HR 1111. And so you'll be hearing more about that soon. And now, what I'd like to introduce is our video. We asked some of our youth if they would share their hopes, their wisdom, and their prayers for peace, especially in the face of nuclear weapons. And so, Becky, when you're ready. I am Tezkiah Gabriel of Pathways to Peace. On this nuclear prayer day, let us begin with a prayer. O Creator of all life, bless us on this day and all days. We see peace. We know the connection we have with all living things and our dear and beautiful planet Earth. Remove the threat of war and nuclear weapons as they perpetuate a culture of fear and violence. And help us to remember that we are powerful and that we can create the change we wish to see. Thank you for the abundance that surrounds us. And thank you for the work of our peace builders and leaders. Move in the hearts of our world leaders to instill a pathway to peace through dialogue and increased understanding. We know all of this to be true. Amen. Blessed be Aho. I am here with my colleague, partner, and primary representative to the Pathways to Peace, UN, Mr. George Anthony. We are honoring Nuclear Prayer Day today by sharing just a bit of the hopes, the dreams, the wisdom, and the prayers of our next generation peace builders, our youth. But before we hear from our youth, I'd like to hear a few words from George. Thank you, George, for all that you do. Would you share a few words, please?
Thank you, dear Tez. On the anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing, people all over the world will be joining in prayer for a future free of nuclear war. A community of nations, diplomats, scientists, scholars, students, educators, religious leaders, grassroots activists are all committed to the elimination of nuclear weapons. So act with courage. We ask you to act with courage to add your voice to the prayers and to the action. We are asking you to be the change you wish to see in the world. President Reagan once said, "A nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought." I say to you, a nuclear war will only cause nations and countries to become corpses and will create an earth void of any life. More reason to be an agent for that change, a world free of nuclear weapons. Join us as we pray for realization of a lasting peace. Today is that day.
Thank you, George. And now let us hear from some of our young peace leaders.
My name is Garrett Nolan, and I am a co-vice president for Pathways to Peace. When the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, it marked the end of the Second World War, but it also marked the beginning of a dangerous and uncharted phase in human history. The fear caused paranoia of nuclear weapons to spread across the globe, and it didn't end until the end of the Cold War. Despite this, however, the threat of nuclear weapons continues to stalk us to this day. With the current war in the Ukraine, the threat has never been higher since the Cuban Missile Crisis. My prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day is that we may unite in our endeavor to rid the world of nuclear weapons. Thank you.
My name is Catherine Volk. I'm 16 and I'm a youth representative for Pathways to Peace. For myself and most others I know, nuclear weapons and the threat of nuclear war is a simple fact of life. The only thing truly preventing us from destroying one another is MAD, or mutually assured destruction. It's honestly horrifying that the only reason we haven't destroyed each other is the fear that we will all die in the end. Not humanity, empathy, or compassion, fear. Fear is what causes us to continuously build our arsenals, to focus on the damage nuclear power creates instead of using it to create a clean and efficient energy source. Fear is what keeps us on a hair trigger to launch these world-ending weapons, instead of debating in council rooms for hours. I know that complete nuclear disarmament is likely impossible and is an unrealistic goal. However, that does not mean there is nothing we can do. To start, countries can shift their nuclear science programs from studying the destructive power of fission to the clean energy creating process of fusion. We can work to eliminate any expansions to our nuclear arsenals and encourage leaders to take more time when making these possibly catastrophic decisions. I do not believe we will ever completely eliminate nuclear weapons, but we can make them less of a threat and ensure future generations live in a world with less fear. We deserve to live in a world that is not 100 seconds away from doomsday, and together we can work to reduce these weapons and fears both at home and abroad. So my prayer for Nuclear Peace Day is that we all begin to truly listen to each other and work together to build a better and less fearful future for us all. Thank you.
My name is Anthony Gutierrez. I'm 15. I go to Lavelle Prep High School. I'm going to 10th grade. I'm at a program. I'm learning about pathways to peace with Mr. Crescitelli. I think it's important to stop nuclear warfare because there's no feud or disagreement between countries that's worth nuclear warfare and destroying the earth. It's important because there's no reason for all that. There's current tensions between Russia and Western countries. There's tensions between China and Taiwan, and there's actual open conflict with Ukraine and Russia. If, God forbid, war between China and Taiwan happens, the U.S. will step in to protect Taiwan because they have an agreement to do so. And because of that, China and U.S. may go to nuclear war, and it ain't worth it dropping bombs on people. They should come together with their differences to become a stronger, united set of nations and the better Earth. My prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day is that countries come together and stop bickering over nothing.
Hi, my name is Destiny Marlin. I go to Lavelle Prep High School. I am going to the 10th grade and I am 15. This summer, I am taking classes in the SYEP, Pathways to Peace with Mr. Crescitelli. And how I feel about the nuclear bombs or weapons is that it's unfair to the innocent lives that has to be killed and burned down because of this, or seriously or critical injured because of it. And I feel like we should kill people with kindness instead of kill people with weapons, because it's like you're hurting somebody without even knowing who they are. And you wouldn't want the same for you, so why should you do that? You don't always have to fight every battle with hurting somebody's life or hurting somebody who you don't even know. You can just have conversations with them. And if you can't have conversations with them, you need to learn to kill them with kindness. And like Martin Luther King, and follow his footsteps. So my prayer for Nuclear Day is that have conversations and to understand where these people are coming from, put yourself in these people's shoes, and be real and upfront with people instead of hurting people and killing people.
Hi, my name is Chris Salvatore. I am 15 years old. I go to New York High School. I'm going into the 10th grade. This summer, I am part of the City University of New York CSI Liberty Partnership Program, where I'm learning about pathways to peace with Mr. Crescitelli. I think it's important to deconstruct nuclear weapons because it's extremely stupid to nuke a continent/country because it won't just hit that country. The whole world will have an effect on it like the radiation from the nuke and like all the marching and the protests they'll have on the other countries. And my prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day is to actually shed light on how many countries have these nukes that can destroy the entire world multiple times over. And we don't need to solve a big conflict in the world just from nukes, even the threat of the nukes, because every war in the past was solved with either like peace or negotiation or something. So that is my prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day.
Hello, my name is Michaela Johnson. I go to I-61 and I'm 14 years old. This summer, I have been taking classes at City University of New York CSI Liberty Partnership Program, taking a class called Pathways to Peace. I personally think that we shouldn't have these nuclear bombs because of a disagreement or for war, because at the end of the day, you don't know the outcome of the bombs and that what it could change for the world and how the world could just disappear. My prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day is that I pray that the government will see from both sides that there's no reason to have these bombs and that it could destroy the whole world because of a disagreement or argument.
Hi, my name is Malachi. I'm going to the 8th grade. I attend I-27 and I'm 14 years old. This summer I am in Liberty Partnership and we're learning about Pathways to Peace with Mr. Criscitelli. For Prayer Day, I pray that everybody in the world comes together and eventually teams up against the bad causes and not going against each other. I think that nobody should have nukes because not only does it take out the people that you don't like, it takes out everybody in the whole world, and that's not a very good thing. You could even take out your own people and yourself.
Hi, my name is Haley. I'm 14 years old. I'm going to Curtis High School. This summer, I am participating in City University of New York CSI Partnerships program where I'm learning about Pathways to Peace with Mr. Criscitelli. I think it is important for the world to prevent nuclear war and nuclear weapons because it will not harm people and keep things at peace in the world. My prayer for Nuclear Prayer Day is for everything to be at peace with no war and no weapons.
Hi, my name is Jacob Carter. I'm 13 years old. I go to IS-25 and I'm going to the 9th grade. I'm a part of City University of New York CSI Liberty Partnership Program where I learned the pathway to peace with Mr. Criscitelli. I think it's important to prevent nuclear wars because it's not worth the risking the world and people's lives over this agreement. My prayer is that I hope we all, instead of blowing stuff up and killing people, is that we talk about it.
Hi, my name is Maya Kubas. I am 15 years old. I go to Susan E. Wagner High School and I'm going to the 11th grade. This summer, I am a part of City University of New York CSI Liberty Partnerships program, doing Pathways to Peace with Mr. Criscitelli. In my opinion, I believe that it is important to prevent nuclear war and also do away with nuclear weapons because the radioactive dust from the bombs can create deadly radiation levels. Also, when these bombs are in use, it creates dangerous firestorms and also creates its own cycle of wind. So, my prayer for the Nuclear Prayer Day is that instead of using these bombs, the thought of people's lives are taken into consideration.
My name is Kaylee Anthony, and I believe that a world without nukes is our one chance at a world with true peace.
And my name is Kevin Unoa, and I don't think anyone should have the power to destroy the world, not just once, but 100 times over.
I'm George Anthony, United Nations Pathways to Peace primary representative. And I think we need to join the young voices in promising the world a chance of peace. Let us join the many nuclear-free proliferation zones throughout the world so we can all thrive together as a human race.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our young peace leaders. You are not only the future, but you are the now. You are leading us out of the problems that the rest of us have created. We so honor and value your wisdom, your voice, and your prayers. And thank you to Mr. George Anthony and Mr. Lindy Crisatelli for your mentoring and for your empowering of the voices of our youth. It means everything. Lastly, thank you to those of you watching this video. Please know that you are a pathway to peace, and that when we come together, our collective prayers, our collective voice makes a difference. Together, we are creating the new earth. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you. Thank you so much to our young peace leaders, our next generation peace builders. And now I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing another one of our keynote speakers. And her name is Momoka Narasaki. She is from Hiroshima, and she is a youth activist. She's worked on climate issues as well as other issues, and she's an internationally recognized speaker. We are so honored to have Momoka both with us, and we're going to hear her keynote presentation in this video. Becky?
Hello, everyone. My name is Momoka Narasaki. I'm very honored to be able to speak here today. I'd like to thank Humi-san and Tezu-san for this opportunity. I am 21 years old, a native of Hiroshima, and my great-grandfather and great-grandmother lived in Hiroshima when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. They were fortunate not to be exposed to the atomic bomb on the day August 6, 1945. My great-grandmother lived far from the city, but my great-grandfather was evacuated a little before the bomb dropped. That is why I am able to speak here today. My great-grandfather passed away before I was born, but my great-grandmother is still alive today. However, I've never heard from her about her memories of the time, because she doesn't want to talk about it. And she moved to Hiroshima City from the nearby area after the city of Hiroshima was exposed to the bombing. Maybe she was affected by radiation. Maybe she was eating vegetables grown in soil contaminated by radiation. If so, it is completely unknown whether the after effect will appear on her, and if they do, when it will appear, and whether they will affect me as well, as her descendant. 77 years have passed since the bombing, and many people may think that the day as something that happened a long time ago. But the effect of the atomic bombing have not yet ended. There are still many Hibakusha and their families who are suffering today. And there are still many people like my great-grandmother who cannot even talk about their memories. And like me, there are many people who may wonder about what if. That is the threat of nuclear weapons. Many of us are not victims of nuclear weapons, but all of us are involved with the nuclear world. Now, not many people in the world can actually hear the voices of the Hibakusha and know what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the threat of nuclear weapons in this way. One Hibakusha who I walk often told me that we have the responsibility to do something about what we saw and what we heard. In June of this year, the first meeting of state parties of TPNW was held. Until now, I had felt that it was somehow the job of Hiroshima and Nagasaki to spread the messages about the dangers and damages of nuclear weapons and to raise our voices toward a peaceful world. But after seeing the conference, I felt that we can all connect with each other and to work to achieve a world without nuclear weapons. I strongly wish that Japan had participated in such a conference, at least as an observer. Japan did not just observe or hear about what happened. I believe that we have the responsibility as a country that has directly experienced it. All of us fill our lives with the wonderful things we do because we get to live peaceful places. Peace that we enjoy is created through collaboration of all of us, where we support each other. We must never deprive people of such happiness, especially children. As I continue my work, I carry the hope from the bottom of my heart that all of us in the world live our daily lives without fear of anything as a granted right. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you.
I believe that Momoka is in our audience today. And so, Momoka, we bow to you. Those were such powerful words. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the depths of our heart. It is now my great honor and pleasure to introduce our next keynote presenter. It is His Excellency, Archbishop Gabriele Caccia, from the Permanent Observer Mission of the Holy See. And the Archbishop is going to deliver a message from the Holy Father. Archbishop Caccia, I turn the floor over to you.
Hezekiah, do you know, I'm trying to find in the room. Do you see the name?
We have so many beautiful names.
I know. I typed it in. It may be that Archbishop has a different name listed.
Archbishop is listed under the Holy See.
Ambassador Caccia is under Holy See.
Holy See.
I'm sorry, could one of you speak, please?
Holy See. Archbishop.
Oh, I stand there. Thank you so much. There you are.
There you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Archbishop. Thank you for your patience. We're just so honored that you are here.
I'm very glad to be with you tonight or this morning. It depends which part of the world we are. And also grateful for the remarks given until now, Barino, George, Momoka, so many young people, and for this kind of invitation. As it was said, here in New York, during this month of August, there is the 10th Review Conference on Non-Proliferation Treaty. And Pope Francis, who also visited Japan, Hiroshima, Nagasaki in 2019, wanted to send a message to the president of this conference. And my contribution tonight is I want to read some passages of this message, which is very powerful, and also to remember that we have an obligation towards those who passed away, the victims, the survivors, and also towards future generation. I start reading part of the message, and I quote, "We recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Indeed, for half a century, the NPT has played a vital role in maintaining peace among nations and thus succeeding in limiting nuclear proliferation. Even so, the world faces several grave challenges in the fields of nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Today represents both an opportunity and a duty to reach consensus in this review conference on concrete actions in accordance with our joint goal to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons, which is both necessary and possible. This vision is shared and enshrined in the NPT, but it requires us to promote dialogue and move with determination from a perspective of competition to one of cooperation. A world free of nuclear weapons demands, first of all, a strong commitment to nuclear disarmament. The indefinite extensions of NPT in 1995 should in no way be interpreted as the tacit acceptance of the indefinite possession of nuclear weapons. We must move toward an agreed global ceiling, setting an upper limit from which nuclear arms can be reduced, thus advancing the cause of disarmament. The war in Ukraine has also alerted the world to the heightened risk of a conventional armed conflict escalating to involve the use of nuclear weapons, representing another urgent reason to ensure action during this conference. To lessen the risk of inadvertent escalation, the Holy See urges states that possess nuclear weapons to take steps to decrease the operational readiness of their nuclear forces and to decrease their nuclear arsenals in line with commitments agreed upon at the 2000 and 2010 review conferences. The inertia in recent years has prompted many states to seek ways to accelerate the process of achieving a nuclear weapon-free world, based especially on the awareness of the catastrophic humanitarian and environmental consequences of their use. As I noted during my 2019 visit to Hiroshima, the use of atomic energy for purposes of war is today, more than ever, a crime, not only against the dignity of human beings, but against any possible future for our common home. The use of atomic energy for purposes of war is immoral, just as the possessing of nuclear weapons is immoral. Future generations will rise to condemn our failure if we spoke of peace, but did not act to bring it about among the peoples of the earth. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is a concrete example of efforts to bring about a nuclear weapon-free world. This treaty, which the Holy See promptly signed and ratified, demonstrates our unwavering commitment to the total elimination of nuclear weapons and mutually reinforces the nuclear non-proliferation regime, especially Article 6 of the NPT, which calls for effective measures relating to cessation of the nuclear arms race at an early date and to nuclear disarmament. The reduction of the nuclear threat requires a renewed global ethic. Disarmament treaties are more than legal obligations. They are moral commitments. It is important to recognize a pressing need for responsibility, solidarity, and cooperative security, since international peace and stability cannot be based on a false sense of security, on the threat of mutual destruction or total annihilation, or on simply maintaining a balance of power. Any response to the threat of nuclear weapons should be collective and concerted based on mutual trust. Disarmament and non-proliferation education can play an important role in this endeavor by raising awareness, especially among youth, of the risks and consequences of nuclear weapons for current and future generations. Even before the entry into force of the NPT, Pope Paul VI was long a proponent of a global fund established with the money otherwise spent on weapons and other military expenditures, with a view to putting an end to hunger and favor development in the most impoverished countries. The pressing universal needs exacerbated by the pandemic, affecting all aspects of daily life and claiming the lives of millions, are surely a summons to expend our energies as well as to use our talents and resources to make good on our solemn commitments enshrined in the text of this treaty, and to build a safer world where solidarity and trust are employed for the integral development of all people. Pope Francis. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much, Archbishop, for bringing not only those powerful words from the Holy Father, which speaks so clearly of total dedication and commitment to action. We're just so honored and privileged to hear those words and to have your presence here. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege. And our next keynote speaker has a long history of work in the area of nuclear disarmament around policies. He has co-authored a book titled Nuclear Disarmament in the 21st Century, and he is perfect for our time tonight. We welcome Reverend Masamichi Kamaya, who is the Senior Advisor to Religions for Peace Asia. Thank you for your long history and commitment, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, Gabrielle, for a very kind introduction about me. The esteemed attendees and the viewers, at 8:15 on the morning of August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was blasted over the city of Hiroshima. This horrific bomb killed over 140,000 people by the end of that year. Every one of them who died had a personal history about her or his own life. Their precious lives must not be ended abruptly on that day. I am a Buddhist living in Japan and belonging to Rissho Kosekai, an organization of engaged Buddhists with headquarters in Tokyo, Japan. Rissho Kosekai is a committed member organization of Religions for Peace global movement, where the world religions join together to ensure that all people enjoy peace, harmony, and prosperity. The elimination of nuclear weapons has been a prime concern of the people associated with Religions for Peace movement. Since I'm now attending the 10th Review Conference of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty being held in New York City, I wish to share with you several important propositions in support of nuclear disarmament, which have been identified during the first week of the conference. First, any use or the threat of use of nuclear weapons is contrary to the rules of international law and the United Nations Charter. Second, nuclear weapons must not be used under any circumstances, since once a nuclear weapon is detonated, no single country nor any international organization alike can control the catastrophic humanitarian consequences. Third, the detonation of a nuclear weapon brings about collateral effects such as the deterioration of human health and the natural environment, climate change, the lack of food supply, and the collapse of the social infrastructure, etc. In this context, nuclear disarmament is not a matter of politics nor technicality. Rather, it is a matter of my own life, which directly affect each one's daily living. Fourth, the elimination of nuclear weapons is only way to guarantee peace and security of all the peoples and the nations. In the ongoing review conference, it is very interesting to note that the importance of dialogue was stressed by the governmental representatives, regardless of political, military, and security-related complexities associated with nuclear weapons. And it should be also noted that the significance of advocacy through disarmament and non-proliferation education was emphasized. I believe that both dialogue and advocacy are undertakings to which the faith communities can contribute. It is because we who can reach out, care so many people in cities, in towns, in villages, preserve religious assets to break down hostility, intolerance, prejudice, and build trust and confidence needed for dialogue and advocacy in achieving the elimination of nuclear weapons. As some previous speakers mentioned about a treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, TPNW. So the preamble of TPNW recognizes efforts and undertakings by inter alia, international organizations, religious leaders, parliamentarians, academics, and the hibakusha in view of the role of public conscience in the furthering of the principles of humanity as evidenced by the call for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. As such, many stakeholders can play their respective roles for our common objective with unique approaches. The people of the faith community are one of them, without question. observing the 77th anniversary of the atomic bombing on Hiroshima, on behalf of the Religions for Peace, I assure you all that we spare no efforts in bringing about a world free of nuclear weapons. To conclude my remarks, let me stress that what we should remember Hiroshima Day on August 6th is not the symbolic mushroom cloud spreading all over the sky in Hiroshima on that day, but rather sorrow, agony, and despair of the real people who lost their lives beneath that mushroom cloud. It is our moral and ethical imperative to work for a safer world without nuclear weapons. I thank you for your kind attention.
Reverend Kamaya, thank you. Your words are so uplifting and inspiring around what we can do and what we need to do to have a world free of nuclear weapons. Thank you for those powerful words. Thank you. And as we're now winding down, we have a beautiful offering from some of our friends in Japan. And so I'm going to call on Hideo Nakazawa to introduce, and then lead a closing mudra. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be able to join this event. First, I would like to offer our simple and universal prayer for world peace, initiated by Masahisa Goi. I say first, and please repeat after me in English. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you. Masahisa Goi was also a master of inns. In is the Japanese word for mudra. He did various inns for peace to prevail on earth. I offer the divine spark in mudra for the awakening of all humanity and for a world free of nuclear weapons. This in is performed with a combination of the movements of hands and special breathing. Please feel this vibration. It is perhaps easier for you to feel it if you yourself make a simple mudra. You do circles with thumb and forefingers and link it together like this. So I begin. So 最初にはいと言いますので、日本のメンバーの方は一緒にお組みください。1回だけです。はい。 Thank you. May peace prevail on earth.
Thank you so much. And now it is time for us to close. We could have spent so much more time with each one of our beautiful speakers. And so we want to, first of all, thank those people that were here for us today, our young presenters, our presenters in the video, His Excellency Archbishop Kacha, and the Reverend Mesamichi Kamaya, as well as Hideo being willing to provide that beautiful, beautiful mudra for our closing. And in closing, we want you to know that we know, as you know, that our individual and collective prayers, our meditations, our intentions, that are heartfelt, they do make a difference, and they can bring us a world free of fear, a world free of nuclear weapons, a world at peace. Thank you. Each one of you are a pathway to peace.